Good morning, everyone. Today, I'll be discussing the remarkable advancements and updates in crime scene investigations. I'm Ghadeer Abdelaal, Forensic Medicine Toxicology, Senior Lecturer at Faculty of Medicine, 𝒁𝒂𝒍 University, Fellow of the Egyptian Forensic Medicine Authority in Cairo, founding member of 𝒁𝒂𝒍 Forensic and Toxicology Research Laboratory, also founding member of the Safe Women Clinic. Time, our greatest enemy in crime scene investigations. But just like a magic mirror, forensic can reconstruct the past using the simplest evidence at the crime scene. Because every piece of evidence tells us a part of the story, and within it lies a secret that needs to be revealed. Let's imagine ourselves at a crime scene with these evidence we have found, and let's use the latest technologies to examine them. The first thing we'll start with is the crime scene itself. With a significant advancement in 360 degrees imaging techniques and the modern laser scaling devices that can reconstruct the surrounding area with precise dimensions, in addition to the VR headsets or goggles, scientists collaborated with video game software programmers and were able to create software for the virtual crime scene, in which the investigator can revisit it at any time, move from one room to another, even if the original scene no longer exists. It's interactive, meaning they can pick up the evidence, rotate it, examine it, and place it down. They can also incorporate animations with possible scenarios to assess their accuracy and logic. We have used it for educational purposes, allowing students to revisit real cases. Moreover, we can take it to the courtroom, where the judge can experience being inside the crime scene, making the facts clearer. As happened in a court in China in 2018, the witness Dong, the one who is wearing this VR, was the only eyewitness in the murder case of a 19-year-old Liu, the one virtually displayed here on the screen. She was murdered by her ex-boyfriend. Dong wore VR goggles and entered the crime scene to recall and provide his testimony at the court. The virtual reality image was displayed on a large screen in front of the judge, lawyers, and audience in the courtroom. Not only has a crime scene become virtual, but also autopsy. The word autopsy has its roots in ancient Greek, where autos means self and opsmi means seeing with eyes. It means that the doctor opened the cadaver and see with his own eyes the cause of death. This indicates that it was a subjective process based on the forensic doctor's estimation, and the report could differ from one doctor to another. So why not make the autopsy more objective and have objective documentation of the body through precise photographs that two people cannot disagree on, especially with the significant advancement in radiology devices? They even just suggested removing the prefix autos from the word. Thus, we can call it virtopsy to eliminate any form that implies subjectivity. They performed external imaging of the body, surface scanning with lasers, CTs, and MRIs, and if tissue samples were needed, they could do needle biopsy. All this data is entered into specialized software that creates a virtual 3D model of the body. It's then displayed on large touch screen called virtopsy table. The doctor can remove layers from the body, rotate it, or make a layer transparent. They can zoom in to see underlying structures for example, the heart, see a CT scan of the entire body and detect diseases, surgeries, or foreign objects. Like bullets with great precision. They can even determine the exact path of a bullet or identify fractures in the bones very clear. This helps us gather information about the body even if its features are unclear or decomposed. There are several advantages of virtual autopsy or virtopsy over the traditional one. The body is transformed into a digital model that can be stored and shared for a second opinion and may be used for teaching students about real murder cases. Also, it's more acceptable by general public and when presented in court compared to traditional autopsy photographs. In case of infectious diseases and bioterrorism, it is a safe method because the doctor can work with a digital 3D image of the body, avoiding direct contact. In addition, it's faster in mass disaster situations where there are dozens or hundreds of victims. Postmortem CT scanning had led to a reduction in the amount of time a body must stay in the morgue. Let's go back to the year 2011. In New York City, at a construction site, workers broke something and found a body inside. It appeared to be dead for about a week. They called 911 and the police came, treating it as a murder case. The body was taken to the morgue and it was discovered that the object they broke was an iron coffin. Forensic doctors performed a virtual autopsy and found that the body was that of a 26-year-old African female. The surprise was the cause of death. It wasn't a homicide. It was smallpox, a virus declared eradicated globally in 1980 by the World Health Organization. They discovered that the body had been buried in the iron coffin for over 150 years, which preserved it in this condition. When they checked the population records in New York in 1850, they found a person with similar situation named Martha Peterson who died from smallpox. This is not everything about virtual autopsy. This year, 2023, a Monash University PhD student named 𝒏𝒏𝒖𝒂𝒍 has made a prototype using augmented reality headset that allows a user to see the room around them. The technology means a pathologist wearing the headset could dissect a virtual 3D projection of a body. And at the same time, he can read the relevant police and medical reports. On a menu, he can tap measurements, choosing starting point and end points to measure the length of different parts of the body. Here he measured the lower limb, and the result is 96.4 centimeters. Also, he can use a white circular eraser, as we can see here, to remove layers of the cadaver, revealing the underlying structure. Also, there is a CT slice viewer with a zoomable slider that can be moved forward and backwards to reveal CT scans of different parts of the body. Fascinating, right? Let's return back to our crime scene. One of the pieces of evidence that we can find at crime scene is the skeletal remains. In forensic anthropology, we can determine from the skull age, sex, and race. There is also a technique called 3D facial reconstruction, which was originally used in forensic medicine in the mid-20th century. They used a plastic cast made of the skull. So this is not the real skull. This is a cast from the real skull. And put a plastic tissue depth markers on it. These markers indicate the average thickness of the facial tissues in specific landmarks on the face, based on the information obtained from the skull regarding age, sex, and race. Then a forensic artist adds the muscles of the head and neck, artificial eyes, and facial expression muscles. Finally, the artist sculpts the facial features using clay and adds color and hair. With the advancement of laser technology, a laser scan of the skull is performed along with video recording. This data is then converted into a digital 3D skull on the computer, as we can see here at the lower left side of the image. Using specialized software that determines the thickness of tissues based on stored information that we supply the computer with, the face is reconstructed electronically. Computer-generated estimates, as seen here at the lower right side of the image, are more accurate in identifying the victim's identity because the results appear less artificial compared to the sculpted model above. However, in both cases, facial reconstruction models are not admissible as evidence in court because they are considered approximate and not definitive evidence. Other methods, such as DNA analysis, provide more precise identification. The primary application of facial reconstruction are for creating approximate images of unidentified remains and circulating them in the population, hoping that their families will recognize them. Remember Martha, the woman found buried in the iron coffin? Her facial reconstruction was also created using computerized 3D facial reconstruction techniques. A 3D skull was created from CT scans of her head, and her face was reconstructed. Here is her image. The method used with Martha is also employed to reconstruct the faces of mummies who died thousands of years ago. Because their heads are not just skulls, they still have tissues and they may be wrapped in cloth and linen. Scientists utilize CT scans and digital reconstruction to transform mummies into 3D digital models and even create replicas. They printed the 3D digital skulls using a technique called 3D printing. One of the most notable examples of this technique is the reconstruction of the face of the king of the golden mask, Tutankhamun, which captured international attention when it was unveiled by a team of forensic anthropologists and forensic artists led by Dr. Zahi Hawass in 2005. Amazing. Let's go back to our crime scene. One of the most valuable evidence that we may find at crime scene is the biological evidences. As DNA analysis has always been a powerful tool in criminal investigations. However, recent advancements in genetics have allowed us to go beyond identifying individuals based on their DNA alone by looking at the 98% non-coding DNA. Now, we are examining the 2% that carries genes. So we are looking here in DNA phenotyping to the genes itself. With the emergence of DNA phenotyping, we can now extract specific genetic information from crime scene to determine physical traits such as eye color, hair color, skin tone, height, and even ancestral origin. This breakthrough has narrowed down the pool of potential suspects and provided investigators with valuable leads. In other simple words, from an extracted DNA, they reconstructed a portrait. Taking DNA phenotyping a step further, scientists have developed a technique called DNA snapshot. By inputting the genetic data into sophisticated software, it is now possible to generate a visual representation or portrait of an individual solely based on their DNA. This revolutionary tool provides investigators with invaluable threads to follow, helping them solve cases and eliminating false leads without wasting time and efforts on innocent individuals. And here we can see in these photos how approximate is the reconstructed snapshot profile to the actual photos. Let me illustrate the practical application of these advancements through a real life cold case. In 2010, a woman was running on this path at Robins Lodge Park while a man attacked her. He covered her face with the top she was wearing and actually sexually assaulted her. Despite collecting DNA evidence from the victim, she went to the police and they took samples. They couldn't find a match of his DNA profile in their database, leaving the case cold. However, 7 years later, with the emergence of DNA snapshot technology, the DNA sample was sent to a company specializing in this DNA phenotyping snapshot reconstruction. The resulting report provided investigators with crucial information. The suspect was light-skinned, Latin man, brown eyes, and black hair. Armed with this knowledge, the investigators revisited the place and investigated the area and identified the person matching the physical description mentioned in the report and in the snapshot. Thus, the subsequent DNA analysis confirmed that he was indeed the perpetrator. They found the sample taken from this man matched that was taken from the victim 7 years ago, leading to his arrest and conviction. To sum up, the advancements in crime scene investigations have revolutionized the field of forensic science. And we have to keep in our mind the word of the father of modern forensic science and criminology, Edmund Lockhart. He once said, "Every contact leaves a trace."